about the extent of Russian attempts to hack into election software systems following yesterday's report in The Intercept that Russian military intelligence executed a cyber attack on at least one U.S. voting software supplier and sent spear phishing emails to more than 100 local officials just days before last November's presidential election. That is according to an NSA report and their attribution. The federal government has arrested the person they say is responsible for the leak of that NSA report, NSA contractor Reality Winner, an Air Force veteran. Now, today, at least 3 Florida counties are reporting they got malicious emails days before the election but did not open them. And Mark Warner, the senator of Virginia, the ranking Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, also saying today that the extent of the attacks is much broader than has been reported so far. He said he was pushing intelligence agencies to declassify the names and number of states hit. Joining me now, Claire Finkelstein, a law professor, faculty director, Center for Ethics and Rule of Law at University of Pennsylvania. And Professor, you've studied asymmetric warfare. You were quoted today talking about the scope of this as a revelation, that the tentacles of this operation beyond just campaign emails that were leaked, which again was a pretty intense incursion. How should we think about what kind of scale this is in terms of the international implications?
I think this is a very significant revelation because what we're talking about is not just cyber interference or even hacking of emails. This is potentially on a very different scale. I assume this is the first of a number of reports that we're going to hear about or that Mueller knows about and that will come out eventually. But what we do know because of this report and a few others like it is that the Russians did want to influence the outcome of the election by hacking into our voting software, in this case, registration software. But we know that that was their intent. Yeah, we should just be, I just want to be clear here because obviously there's been a lot of confusion about this. There is no evidence whatsoever that any vote tallies or voting machines were compromised, that the election of the outcome in terms of the vote totals was ever penetrated. The software we're talking about are electoral registration systems and vendors for that. You have Mike Quigley today from Illinois indicating that he believes Illinois may have been compromised. But I also thought about the reports we had of the White House that they didn't know just what the Russians were planning in the run-up to this thing, even as they were attributing the hacks on Podesta and the DNC to them. You wonder about what their calculation of was with the chaos that Russia might have been able to pull off if indeed these reports are accurate. That's right. And this is a whole new scope, right? We're used to the covert operations. They did it, we did it, the old sort of Cold War rules that obtained. The fake news was a new variant on this, but now we have an expansion of the potential scope of Russian interference. This started to become apparent, particularly in the French elections, with the attempt to interfere in the Macron campaign, and now we see what's really coming out here. And I think that it moves us potentially from cyber interference to cyber attacks. And that has a whole different status. Yeah, I should note that there's been some reporting in France indicating that there's been no definitive finding of the origins of the Macron attack that was initially reported, and I just want to be clear about what we know. Part of the issue here... Fair enough. No, I only say that because part of the issue, of course, is attribution. I mean, this has been the thing that hangs over all of this. Attribution's difficult. Attribution's coming from something like the NSA or someone else, even in this report that was leaked but had none of the raw intelligence. It's hard to make the public case, and that sort of bedevils the international response as well, it would seem to me. And we know that from our own experience, Stuxnet, right? We engage in our own cyber interference, and then we blame it on the Chinese and try to make it look like the Chinese did it. So attribution is a very difficult issue. But more and more evidence is coming in. We will see what evolves over the next several months. But we certainly do understand what the Russian intent is here. All right, Claire Finkelstein, thank you. Ahead, could we see a new Trump care bill in the next month? Senator Sherrod Brown on what his Republican colleagues are up to and what he says is the active sabotage of Obamacare coming up.